Ever find yourself waiting endlessly at a big box pharmacy, feeling like just another number? At Tablet Pharmacy, they provide the personalized service you deserve. They offer free delivery and blister packaging options to make managing your medications easier than ever. Check their competitive prices online at tabletpharmacy.ca.
Peter and Dave, they're on the mics all right. Join the ride, it's gonna feel just right.
Welcome back to the Pulse Community Podcast. I'm Peter McCulley, and we're here to bring you stories from the heart of mid-Vancouver Island.
And I'm Dave Graham. Well, Peter, we're midway through January already, and I'm pleased to report that I've made it 2 whole weeks without breaking one of my New Year's resolutions.
Well, that's pretty impressive, Dave. You mean you've kept all your resolutions?
No, I said I got a couple of weeks without breaking one of them. I broke the other 11, but one remains. I swore off eating haggis, and I haven't touched any yet all year.
I don't get it. Do you have an issue with eating haggis?
No, I'm actually not a fan of haggis, but I wanted at least one resolution that was going to be achievable. The others just weren't meant to be. I guess I'm not ready to live in a world without chocolate, thank you. Oh, speaking of treats, Valentine's Day will be upon us soon enough. That's usually a good occasion for some bonbons, a bit of confectionery. I could start dropping hints to my partner, but it would be entirely stating the obvious. Here's a treat of a different kind. Bruno Mars on his first tour in 7 years and coming to Vancouver.
Yes, that's welcome news to many music fans out there. So, Dave, are you thinking of going to the show?
I bet he puts on a great show. It'd be much fun to see, I'm sure. But actually, I'm thinking it would be a blast to be a backup dancer. I'm wondering, Peter, if among all your contacts, because you have an amazing black book, you could get me in touch with his manager. Maybe I get an audition.
You want to be a Bruno Mars backup dancer?
I think it would be a good bit of shtick to have one old guy up on stage swinging with the youngsters. You're looking at me funny. I have moves, They might not be the right ones, but I got them.
Okay, well, I'll take your word for it. And as for contacting Bruno's people, I'll see what I can do, but don't call me, I'll call you. Now, today we have 2 fantastic guests joining us. First, a broadcaster, author, and musician. Grant Lawrence is returning to Vancouver Island with his Stories and Songs tour featuring Jill Barber, Danny Michel, the 44 Collective, and Desiree Dawson. They'll be coming to Errington, Tofino, and Mayne Island.
When I started up this Stories and Songs tour, the rule that I created for myself was that I only wanted to do the show in places that I would want to go to, that I would want to spend time in, and nice, smaller places that you would go for a weekend, or out-of-the-way places that you would want to check out.
Our second guest is visual artist Diane Moran, the founder of Mindfulness in May. This is a program in which she creates spaces where young people can express themselves honestly about mental health, belonging, and identity.
You know what? I get goosebumps just talking about this. And as I said, some of the work that was submitted in the past, like this one particular piece, it was basically a piece of cardboard that a person who was homeless might sleep on. And they took charcoal and pastel and drew this amazing piece. When I saw this, I thought, how clever, how human, how real.
That's powerful stuff right there. Art can reach places that words sometimes cannot.
We have a new contest here at the Pulse Community Podcast. Go to our website or our Facebook page and look for the link to enter our contest to win a $100 Smile Card from Thrifty Foods in Parksville.
When you enter, we will ask you for your favorite go-to budget meal. So, Peter, what's your go-to budget meal?
I'm a fan of a good stir fry. Isn't your favorite chicken casserole?
Oh, no, you have it backward. I have a thing about casserole. Seriously, if a dish has the word casserole in it, it's most certainly not my favorite. I think I must have had a bad experience with tuna when I was a kid. The words tuna casserole, they still make me a little queasy. My therapist says I'll get over it someday.
We'll be discussing mental health medications on a future episode with pharmacist Aki Shah. We'll also talk about seasonal affective disorders and practical strategies for maintaining wellness through the darker months here on Vancouver Island.
Oh, that's timely. January and February can be tough months for a lot of people. We're also going to be welcoming to the podcast Cam Cruikshank, the assistant fire chief in Parksville. Cam will be here to talk about volunteering to be a firefighter.
Singer-songwriter Tara Spencer will join us on a future podcast. Tara was named Music Nova Scotia's Entertainer of the Year for 2025. She'll be performing in Parksville at Knox United.
The lineup has been announced for Sunfest, and soon we'll be chatting with Mike Hahn about the biggest music event on the island.
Ian Lindsay of Lindsay and Associates has played an active role in the local community since 1979. He has been with RE/MAX, Vancouver Island's most advanced real estate business network, since 1996, marketing and selling residential, rural, strata, recreational, investment, and project development real estate. Ian has received several awards recognizing his exceptional community commitment locally, as well as awards for outstanding performance and achievement from both RE/MAX International and the Vancouver Island Real Estate Board. You'll find true real estate professionals at ianlindsay.ca.
Fireside Books at 464 Island Highway East in Parksville is a book dragon's dream come true. Browse their extensive collections 7 days a week. Both locations make growing your personal library easier than ever. New and used books and so much more. Order online at firesidebooks.ca and pick up at either location. Details available online. Ask about returning books for a book credit. Fireside Books and The Bookworm. 2 locations, one amazing adventure in browsing.
If you would like to be a part of the Pulse podcast, speak to us. Head to our website under the contact page. Send us a voice message about what's on your mind or your upcoming event, or perhaps you have a thought or two on potential guests or topics. Contact us at thepulsecommunity.ca. All right, it's time for our first guest, a creative force who brings stories, songs, and a unique perspective to audiences across the country. Here's Marilyn.
Grant Lawrence is in the green room. A broadcaster, author, musician, and goaltender, Lawrence is bringing his spring tour show to the islands with Jill Barber, Michel, the 44 Collective, and Desiree Dawson.
Grant, thanks for making time for us today. I know you're an extremely busy young man.
Oh, thank you so much, Peter. It's awesome to be back with you.
It doesn't seem like that long ago we were chatting about you bringing your Grant Lawrence and Friends show to a few select locations on Vancouver Island, and you're coming back.
Yeah, it was almost a year ago, just shy of a year ago. We were on Vancouver Island with the show in June, and this year we're bringing it back to mostly new locations, but we are making a return to Errington. We loved it so much that we were offered a second show with a different lineup, so we're bringing it back to the Errington War Memorial Hall, all in early March, and we're very excited to be doing it. I guess it's still technically winter on the West Coast, but whenever we say the word March, we just all automatically think spring. We're hoping for nice weather.
Now, those concerts you're talking about, returning to Errington, great hall, great crowd, and you're going to be on Mayne Island and Tofino.
The rule of my show, which I may have mentioned last time, is I was in a touring rock band for 30 years called the Smugglers, and we would play pretty much anywhere that would book us, and that included a lot of really rundown places, a lot of places that had no business booking bands, but we played them anyway. A lot of rough, out-of-the-way places, and so when I started up this Stories and Songs tour, the rule that I created for myself was that I only wanted to do the show in places that I would want to go to, that I would want to spend time in, and nice, smaller places, places that you would go for a weekend, or out-of-the-way places that you would want to check out. And Errington certainly piqued and triggered that interest level because I hadn't heard of it before. I had seen it on a couple of tour itineraries, the Errington Hall. I'm like, where is this place? Had to look it up, saw I was just outside of Parksville, had no idea, and I'm a coastal kid. And then, of course, Tofino, world-class destination, and any and all of the Gulf Islands, both southern and northern, are great. So any chance to get to any of them at any time of year is a wonderful thing.
You've got some great guests with you on this tour around. Jill Barber, I think you probably bumped into her a few times here and there.
Yes, at the altar, in fact. That is my wife. We've been married for 15 years, and she will do some of the shows. When we were in Errington last time, I remember standing sort of in the lobby, and there were people coming up, and I was saying, oh, thanks for coming to the show. And so many people came up and said, oh, and this is not really what you want to hear at the end of a show. People are saying, I was disappointed that you didn't bring your wife Jill with you to perform. And I'm thinking, geez, we just rolled out Joel Plaskett, Lindy Ortega, Ashley Ball, like an all-star lineup. And people are saying, where's Jill? So Jill is coming back on this one. We're also bringing an amazing singer-songwriter from Kitchener-Waterloo named Michel. He's one of our favorites. He's just incredible entertainer. Amazing original songs. And then also for Tofino and Errington, we're bringing Desiree Dawson from Vancouver, who is also one of my favorites. In fact, my favorite song of the year this year was her tune called Chop Some Wood, all about the simple mental health exercise of getting outside and just doing some work around the house, doing some work around the yard. If you live in an apartment, just going for a walk or picking up trash on the street and depositing it where it should go, and how much that does for us just to be outside, walking around in whatever nature we can find. So love that song. Hopefully she'll perform Chop Some Wood at the shows.
You mentioned Michel. He, like Joel Plaskett, is a great musician whose music fits in really well with the live element.
Oh, yeah. He's one of these guys where, he probably has been in the business for at least 20, 25 years, if not longer. He's got plenty of albums. You can pick any one of them, and there'll be great songs on it. He is a masterful songwriter. He is an incredible live entertainer in that he engages the audience in special ways that, that level of performer can, like a Joel Plaskett or like a Michel or another guy who I've worked with on the shows recently, Neil Osborne from 5440. Those type of people, Jill is another one. They have the songs down, but they also have the audience engagement down. And so with our kind of shows where we try to create an intimate atmosphere, that's very important for us.
Having musical guests join you creates opportunities for spontaneous moments. Is there improvisation and conversation between you and the musicians?
That sort of thing happens all the time. In fact, I remember Ashley Ball was on stage at the Errington Hall, and she was playing a great song of hers called Lavender, which is a true story that happened to her on a Gulf Island, where she was running through a field of lavender with her flute and tripped and ended up breaking her leg, which is not really what you picture when running through a lavender field. But that's what happened to her, and she made a song out of it, and the riff goes like this: bump, bum, bum, bump, bum, bum, bump, bum, bum, bump, bum, bum, bump. And she often gets the audience to sing just exactly the way I did it, to sing the riff for her, and then she will sing along with the audience, creating that riff and keeping time. Now, Joel Plaskett was backstage at the Errington Hall, and backstage behind the curtain, there was a piano. And Joel might have been stretching his back and like lying on the floor backstage. And he was hearing this riff, boom, boom. And he got up and he flipped open the lid of the piano and he figured out the key, and then he went right into it. And all of a sudden, from somewhere, we could hear piano, and we didn't know from where. And Ashley didn't know from where, but she's a total pro, so she just rolled with it. And it was one of these amazing spontaneous moments where the song just built and built, and everyone kept joining in, making it bigger and bigger as it went along. And it's one of my favorite moments, but there's a lot. There's a lot of great sing-along moments and people whistling and cheering, but that's a favorite, and it happened to have happened in Errington.
Now, you mentioned Joel Plaskett, who was in the show last year, a legend on the East Coast, and recently was awarded the Order of Nova Scotia.
Yeah, absolutely no surprise there. Very proud for him. The irony of that is that he has, for the last several years, been somewhat quietly living on the West Coast in Victoria. And him and I have been friends for many years, and I figured out that he was out here. And as soon as I did, I'm like, man, I'm going to see if he can get involved in these shows. So I kind of blew his cover a bit. He was keeping a low profile, and I blew his cover a little because I started adding him to shows. And then people figured out, oh, he's out here. And then they started contacting him to play festivals. And so the word is out. But in terms of his roots, I think he's always going to be the musical son of Nova Scotia. And I think he still goes back in the summer. And who knows? I think the reason that they came out here was his wife's family is from the West, from Victoria. And two, they found a really great school for their son, which is a high school in Victoria. But when that son graduates, who knows? We might only have a finite time out west here with Joel Plaskett.
We'll try and get him on a podcast here pretty quick then. Did you have any difficulty talking your wife, Jill Barber, into coming along for some of these shows? Because I know she's been really busy. Before Christmas, it was the Christmas album. There was a tour. I would have thought that she was putting her feet up and taking some time off.
You would think that she would do that, but my wife and I were just talking about this last night, Jill and I. We're so busy. Every time we think, okay, we've got a break, then we're preparing for something new. And Jill is this winter performing with a whole bunch of symphony orchestras, a show called Under Paris Skies, which is completely in French. So she does all of her French repertoire with symphony orchestras across, I believe, Western Canada and into Ontario. I know there's a Winnipeg show coming up. She's madly preparing for those shows. And then we've got this tour coming up that we're talking about. So does she come along willingly? Sometimes. And then oftentimes she'll say, hey, why did I agree to this again? Because we've got two young kids with busy schedules as well. So it's a lot of going over daytimers. And we're not Google Calendar people. I know a lot of people are, and everyone at the CBC is, but we're still like tactile daytimers. So we have to line up our daytimers and make sure we're going to be in the same place at the same time. And we figure out how it works with a lot of family support. But our kids will be on this road trip, I believe. But there's a caveat to that. If my son's hockey team gets into the final, I believe it'll be the same night that we're in Tofino, and he's not going to want to miss that. So that's the kind of logistics that we deal with these days in our family on the road.
I see that your son has been involved in releasing an album recently.
Yeah, that's right. My son, who's only 12 years old, has been in an active rock band himself. He's seen firsthand the business, and he saw that I was in a rock band, and he's still on the stage where he thinks his dad is cool, though that is fading and quickly. But anyway, he wanted to form a band, and he formed a band when he was back in grade 4, and he's in grade 7 now. Their first show was the talent show at the end of grade 4, and they've since gone on to play a whole bunch of shows. They're really popular. They got signed to a record label. According to the record label, they are the youngest Canadian band to ever be signed to a record label. They have an album out now called Breakaway, and it's been played on radio, and they do gigs at local elementary schools, and the kids go crazy, and it's quite amazing to see it unfold. It's a lot of work as well, though.
And the name of the group is?
Blue Jay Valley, and they've got some really cool videos on YouTube that lots of kids are watching, and they've got some very catchy songs. They're good little songwriters.
It's been a few years since you were in the band touring with the Smugglers, and I see that you've released a collectible vinyl album.
So with the Smugglers, we started way back when I was in high school. So Josh has a few years on me in terms of his band, but I started my band in mid-high school, and we were together for a very long time. We are, I would say, on hiatus / broken up, but the records are hitting these milestone anniversaries. So our most popular record is Selling the Sizzle. It's just coming up to its 30th anniversary, I think February 1. is its official 30th anniversary. So yeah, we had a very lovely person who runs a record company in California offer to put it out. And so it's come out on a very deluxe package where there's a whole big pile of burgers on the front cover of the record. That's always been the way it is. So we made a very unique cover where the record cover opens up like it's a menu. The record cover has a cut right down the center of the album, and that cardboard folds open like you would if you're holding a menu in a restaurant. It's pretty cool. It's a very unique design. It's neat, and it's got to keep with the burger theme. The vinyl now, you can do anything with vinyl. So the vinyl is mustard and ketchup splattered vinyl. And liner notes by our friend Nardwar. You were mentioning the Order of Nova Scotia for Joel Plaskett. Nardwar, our pal, who put out our first records way back 30 years ago, longer than that, 35 years ago. He just got the Order of Canada. So a big congratulations to West Vancouver's own Nardwar, the human serviette.
Well, if you're going to have mustard and ketchup, you need the serviette.
Exactly. Ba-boom. Nice one.
You and I have talked and chatted before about playing goalie in hockey, and I recently read an interesting book. I don't know if you've read this one or not. It's called Behind the Mask. It's a really deep look at 12 of the greatest goalies in hockey history. I got to tell you, I read this book cover to cover. I couldn't find reference to either one of us.
I have another goalie book where my kids cut out a picture of me playing goal, and there's this goalie book. It's similar, but I think it was made for kids. It's like a picture book, and it's like the greatest goalies of all time, and there's a photo montage of a bunch of these goalies in action, and my kids cut out a photo of me in net and glued my picture onto this cover, which we still have somewhere around. In terms of hockey, since I last talked to you, bit of a sad update. My team, called the Vancouver Flying V's, which I was the goalie for 25 years, folded. My only outlet for hockey is actually quite similar to the band. It's all through my son now. My son has a band, and I'm enjoying seeing that and helping him and putting all my knowledge of how I figured out how to do it and training him. Now he has his hockey team, which I mentioned. So I'm a coach on that team, and that fulfills a lot of my hockey needs. I played a few pickup games earlier in the year, and with pickup, there's hardly any whistles, and it's just go. And I was just a physical wreck after these games. Every part of my lower body hurt. And I don't know, I might be hanging him up, Peter.
I hung him up a long time ago. I love the hockey. There's just a lot of other things to do all the time, it seems. Now it's just go to the gym and try and lose weight.
Walking is good, or chopping some wood, back to that Desiree Dawson song.
After these shows wrap up, what's next for Grant? Are you working on a new writing project? I know last time we chatted, you were working on a broadcasting series about orca whales.
That's right. Yeah, that's called Whale Tale. And I have just finished a big pitch document of Whale Tale to turn that from an audio series into a book. I expect to be working on that for the foreseeable future. If we get any bites, then Joel Plaskett and I will be touring again, along with Jill. Every year we do a Desolation Sound tour. That's a boat tour, boat access only. And we go from Little Village to Little Outpost, Cortez Island, Quadra Island. We do Refuge Cove, Lund, Savory Island. And we've just confirmed that it will be myself and Jill and Joel Plaskett this July in Desolation Sound. So we try to give people as much warning about that as possible so they can plan their vacations around it. And we'll do a series of shows by boat, 2 cool little places around Desolation Sound in the early weeks of July.
It sounds like there's not much room in that daytimer, Grant.
Not really. It's filling up fast. There's some space in May. Nothing happening. No, there is. Going to the Shuswap Writers Festival in Salmon Arm. So forget about May.
Grant, thanks for being with us today. And we will be looking forward to those shows, particularly in Tofino and in Errington.
Okay, Peter. Thank you so much for the support. Really can't wait to get back to the island as always.
Grant Lawrence, gosh, that man has pretty much done it all. CBC radio and best-selling books and making music, and he's bringing his show to communities on Vancouver Island. I appreciate what that says about the value he places on these smaller, meaningful venues.
Hey, we've added Vancouver Island webcam links to the pulsecommunity.ca website. Not only will you find links to all our podcasts, but events and contests too.
And a reminder for you that you can also find us on Apple, Amazon, iHeart, Spotify, TikTok, and YouTube. We're also on Facebook and Instagram.
At Thrifty Foods, we love to help nonprofits, charities, and schools. Our Thrifty Foods Smile Card bulk program allows organizations to immediately save up to 6% on the purchase of Smile Cards in bulk, allowing you to keep more money in your organization's pockets. Ask for details at Thrifty Foods in Parksville.
Ever find yourself waiting endlessly at a big box pharmacy, feeling like just another number? There's a better way. At Tablet Pharmacy, they provide the personalized service you deserve. Check their competitive prices online at tabletpharmacy.ca before you even leave home. They offer free delivery and blister packaging options to make managing your medications easier than ever. With convenient locations in Parksville, Qualicum Beach, and now open in Nanaimo near the Brick, Tablet Pharmacy has been serving Vancouver Island since 2019. Stop being just a prescription number. Experience the Tablet Pharmacy difference today. Visit them online and check their prices at tabletpharmacy.ca.
So, Dave, have you started your Valentine's Day shopping yet?
I may have been doing some light reconnaissance.
Define light reconnaissance.
Oh, window shopping. You know, I happen to walk by some stores. They happen to have some displays. I happen to have a look. Okay, I'll admit it. I've oh man, I forgot Valentine's Day once, so now I make sure I'm prepared. I don't think I'll be forgetting Valentine's Day again. Boy, I had to go above and beyond to get over that one.
Well, Dave, our next guest is creating powerful spaces for young people to explore their creativity and mental health through art. Here's Marilyn.
Visual artist and community connector Diane Moran has dedicated her career to empowering youth through art. As founder of Mindfulness in May, she creates spaces where young people can express themselves honestly about mental health, belonging, and identity. The arts exhibition features mixed media and is open to grades 5 to 12 and home learners in District 69.
Diane, welcome to the podcast. It's a pleasure to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you too, and thank you so much for having me.
I want to talk about your Mindfulness in May program, the very first full-scale exhibition in Port Coquitlam 10 years ago now. The theme, The Silence of Stigma. That's an intriguing idea. Why did you pick that topic?
When I developed Mindfulness in May, it always happens during BCU's week and National Mental Health Awareness Week. And that was the intention, because I wanted to have an annual exhibition. So it ties in with sort of the mental health realm of things, but also two of my sponsors. One was the BC Schizophrenia Society and the Canadian Mental Health Association. And what I do know is stigma can be quite debilitating for many, and also it's something that should be addressed. And so I thought, why not choose to entertain this idea of the silence of stigma? So I put it forward to the students, and they came up with some fantastic art and their ideas. I was just beside myself because they decided that they were going to address things like homelessness and gender equity and things like anxiety and depression. And so they really nailed it. It's just so important to be able to use art to inspire people and open up conversations that are so important.
Then came the exhibit in Souk during COVID-19 with the theme, The Art of Kindness. And I'm curious to know how the pandemic influenced your theme choice, and also how did it influence the response from the students experiencing this pandemic?
To be honest, it was really important for us to be at a place where we could explore kindness. This was at the height of COVID. And it was in my new community. I hadn't coordinated an exhibition since leaving the mainland in 2015. It was, I guess, finding a way to really allow an opportunity to explore kindness, to practice more kindness. I couldn't go into the schools to actually present and connect and ask them about how they were feeling. Basically, it was a paper invitation, and fortunately, I secured an online platform to do submissions, and I've been using them ever since, which is fantastic. I digress a little bit. I decided to offer that up as an exploration, and again, the youth delivered. It's up to them to decide how they interpret any theme that is put forward. What was really interesting is one of the submissions was a felted bunny, and this little bunny had a tiny little COVID mask and a tiny little Band-Aid and a little inoculation for where they got the vaccination. This student was in grade 6 and won first place. And there are cash prizes for this exhibition and opportunity. But what a way of expressing kindness through deciding that you're going to wear a mask in public and choose to get a vaccination. So that's how this young student decided how they were sharing kindness. I remember there was a drawing in particular that had a little jar where a student was putting coins in. There was a young student that actually had a drawing that had somebody sitting on the ground looking quite worried or upset with another person standing over them with an umbrella in the rain. There was some fantastic writings that took place, and the exhibition was at a local gallery who were still offering experiences, but of course under pretty strict guidelines. Hand sanitizer when you walk into the little student gallery. People had to wear masks, even when we gave out the certificates, because every participant would get a certificate of participation. So yeah, really an interesting way to have an exhibition, I must say. So Have Your Say was in 2025 because I wanted the youth to have a say. There was so much going on last year, and many times youth don't have a platform and a place to have their say about things. So this year, I'm actually revisiting kindness, but also with the whole notion of empathy. Our emotional quotient is so important. And to be honest, social-emotional learning right now is extremely important, and it's actually top of mind. Many schools are finding ways to practice that. I think it's important that through this exhibition, I can create an opportunity for youth to actually share their thoughts about empathy and kindness, and how can we practice more of that for each other, for the environment. And part of why I do these exhibitions is to open up conversations, because those that are attending the exhibition have the capacity to view the work and have conversations about it. There is an official opening, so, the students are there and people can engage with the artists themselves. But what's really nice is it's up for a very long period of time, about 10 days or so.
You don't pick names out of a hat in a manner of choosing the next theme. You take a look, I suppose, at what world events? Do you go that large in terms of trying to figure out where they should go?
Sometimes I do, but I've been actually collaborating with the library for the last few years here in Qualicum. And so I sit down and have a conversation with them and say, hey, what are your thoughts around this? I look at what's going on, not for myself, for, I guess, everyone. If we're experiencing this, I know the youth are too. And this experience and opportunity is just that. It's so they can address how they're feeling, processing what they're seeing. And as I know, and perhaps others might, art is a fantastic way of breaking down barriers. It's a wonderful way of creating conversations. But I do this also too because it's during BC Youth Week, and I want to be able to celebrate our young artists and to give them a platform and a place and a space. The library is a fantastic place to do that. To me, I think it's important that there's a longer exhibition. And this is very formal in the sense that there's an open call. It goes out. The youth have several months to come up with what they want to submit. It's on their terms. You don't have to be in an art class.
There are 3 categories within the exhibition: visual art / media, and photography, and finally, literary art. Can you explain why you structured it that way? And how does offering multiple creative outlets support the goals you have for the exhibition?
Actually, having 3 categories opens up the opportunity for those that may not excel at all art. Taking photos on a phone is actually quite accessible. Also, too, art supplies can be quite costly. And not everybody has the capacity to utilize a canvas and paint. Not everybody takes art in school. And I wanted even those that have an artistic desire or idea could participate. It's quite interesting many times when the poster goes up, they go, oh, I'll share this with the art class. And it's actually for any student in grades 5 through 12 in District 69 that, is excited and interested in the theme. That's why there's a literary component for submissions. Maybe somebody that's really into poetry or short story writing. To be honest, we have never had a submission of a short story, but several one-page poetry submissions. And you know why I do that? It's much easier to actually exhibit a poem that's on one page so you can enlarge it and frame it and have it on the wall. If we had a short story submission, I would put it in a book and it would be on a plinth or somewhere at the library. But yeah, so there's a reasoning around it. It's really to make it more accessible to the students that are participating and, to be honest, less intimidating. Because as I mentioned, not every student is studying art in school. And what I'm finding over the years, because I've been doing this a while, is, maybe somebody in grade 9 hasn't even taken art. And then there's students that are in some of the senior grades that didn't sign up for art this year because they're focusing on their science studies, but they still have this incredible creative idea in their mind and in their head, what they want to be able to share. And so I just find by having, to be honest, it can be a little bit more daunting because there is jurying that happens, not for the exhibition itself. So if you submit on time and, your piece has a reflection of the theme, then your work will be part of the exhibition. There might be some size constraints because this is in the library.
You brought some samples with you from past exhibitions, and I took the opportunity to flip through and see some of the visual art and also some of the written works of art, I could call it that. In fact, I encountered a poem, I think it was a grade 8 student, that just blew me away.
You know what? I get goosebumps just talking about this. And as I said, some of the work that was submitted in the past, like this one particular piece, it was basically a piece of cardboard that a person who was homeless might sleep on. And they took charcoal and pastel and drew this amazing piece. When I saw this, I thought, how clever, how human, how real. The pieces that have been produced over the several years that I've been doing this exhibition. And every year, it's such a joy and a pleasure to see. The first year, I was living on the mainland, and I had a really good relationship with some of the schools already, and so had the capacity to go in and connect with some of the classes and just talk about stigma. Because of the funding and the supporters that I had initially, there was even an opportunity at this space to have a public talk. We brought someone in from the mental health realm and talked about stigma and its impact. There was also some hands-on learning for people as well. So it really depends on the physical space where I'm able to have the exhibition as to what I can do. As I said, quite formal in the sense an open call goes out. There's criteria and guidelines that they have to follow. There's timelines that they have to follow. The work has to be produced and be available for hanging if it's a painting or a drawing. The funds that I get through sponsorship helps cover the cost of prizes that could be won. And of course, not everybody's going to win, but everybody will be included in the exhibition. So our top prize is actually $150. We have 2 age categories because we don't have middle school here in District 69. Because in the past, when I was doing the exhibition, some of the topics might be a little bit more heavy, and it was more for the middle and high school students. And because we don't have middle school here, and I also thought, you know what, there's some pretty spectacular youth that are in grades 5 and up. When I first launched the exhibition in Qualicum, I opted to lower the age range. If anything, it's enhanced the experience because these students just are producing some fantastic work that needs to be seen. They need to be celebrated. And what's cool is they've continued to submit for years to come. And so there are some students that I've had submit initially in grade 5, and now they're in grade 11. I just feel so honored to have the capacity to be able to do this and the desire. And this is one of my babies.
I'm sure it must be very gratifying to have this germ of an idea and see it grow over the years. And now you have the Rotary involved and the library. Are there other arts and education institutions involved in making this happen?
Since arriving in Qualicum Beach, I've been working with the library, and I did that the second year of the exhibition because the first year was in a smaller space. This is our 3rd year at the library, 4th year in Qualicum, 5th year on Vancouver Island having an exhibition while Mindfulness in May. And as I said, it always takes place at the same time. It's always the first 2 weeks in May because that falls into BC Youth Week and National Mental Health Awareness Week. And so I try to marry those two things into the exhibition. The exhibition itself and the prizes and the certificates, that's celebrating our youth, giving them a place to be able to share their work and be excited about it. That's the whole celebrating our youth. And then the mental health realm of things, mental health touches many different facets of life. And so if I can choose a theme where people can be mindful about a topic, it doesn't have to necessarily be specifically about mental health. But what I find is when you're using art as a way to process information, to tell stories, it affects our mental health. And having this public exhibition allows people to see what they have to say through their art, through their words, because everybody has a way of expressing themselves. And I didn't want it to be only one form of art.
Far more inclusive that way. I'm just wondering if you have any last words on the lasting value of creating space for youth to have their say through artistic expression.
Because they have a lot to say. We need to find ways to offer that information. And it's also a way of building community, of breaking barriers, of finding ways to enlist others to participate. A lot of times, especially, we don't have that interaction with multiple age groups. I just think this is just such a fantastic way of breaking down barriers and inviting opportunities for conversation and to really celebrate our youth and challenge ourselves to discover more by using art to tell stories and just have a really positive impact within our community. Sometimes I've been approached by Visions magazine, which is a BC mental health magazine, and because I've had that close connection about mental health within the exhibition for a very long period of time, 3 of my students over the years have actually had the honor of being published in a BC magazine. I curate for a museum in Japan. I've done so for about 20 years now. And I didn't think I was going to submit because my community and myself and my husband were impacted by the fires. And I just thought, I'm going to approach some of the students, and one that I actually had been working with in August to say, can you create something? And then the fires happened. And I was able to get 2 pieces submitted, and they were delighted. There's so many different threads and ties. And as I said, it just goes beyond the exhibition.
It checks a lot of boxes. Job well done. Thank you so much for your time. Pleasure to meet you.
And thank you. I really, truly appreciate it.
Thanks to Diane Moran for joining the Pulse community. The work she's doing with young people is important, giving youth a safe space to express themselves through art. That's a kind of community building that makes a real difference.
Truly. And hearing about that piece created on cardboard, that really drives home how art can be accessible and meaningful, regardless of one's circumstances.
You'll find lots of podcasts for all tastes at thepulsecommunity.ca. Aaron and Jonathan Fraser from the Comox Valley host the F3 podcast. They talk NFL and offer a bonus downloadable recipe tailgate style from Chef Jonathan.
And I may not be that big a sports fan, but I've downloaded some of those recipes. Oh, I gotta say, Chef Jonathan knows his way around game day food, and he's helping me avoid haggis.
Parksville councillors Joel Grenz and Sean Wood, the nonpartisan hacks, take listeners behind the scenes of municipal advocacy work that directly impacts Vancouver Island taxpayers.
Our Skookum Kid stories feature Captain Dave and the crew of the Mellow Submarine and Peter and Gracie the Eskimo dog. And our kid stories now offer coloring pages to go along with each new episode. This week's episode features Captain Dave searching for clam gardens built by Coast Salish peoples thousands of years ago.
And our Radio Archaeology Classic Radio series features original episodes of Dragnet featuring Sergeant Joe Friday and Marshal Matt Dillon in Gunsmoke.
You'll find these podcasts and more at thepulsecommunity.ca.
And while you're up on the website, sign up for our weekly newsletter. It will keep you up to date on the latest podcasts, guests, and contests.
And please do visit the site, enter our contest for a $100 Thrifty Foods gift card. Again, name your favorite go-to budget meal. Go ahead and name casserole if you want, even tuna casserole if that's what you like. Oh, I'm getting that mouth thing now. You know that mouth thing, Peter?
What are you talking about now, Dave?
I can taste the tuna and the casserole. I'm having some kind of a culinary flashback. Only it's got to be in my head. I'm going to get through this. I'll be okay. You know what? I need a distraction.
Wow, Dave, is there anything I can do to help you through this?
Do you have any clinical grade chocolate? In a pinch, cocoa will do.
How about a glass of water and some deep breaths, or maybe a brown paper bag to breathe into?
Oh, once again, there you go with that offbeat humor of yours. No, I think I'm probably going to need marshmallows on my cocoa. It's that serious.
Let's go to the cafeteria and we'll get you all fixed up, Dave.
Just to be safe, I should probably also get a donut or, I don't know, a cookie or something. Yeah, I don't suppose they have chocolate lava cakes? This is purely medicinal, of course.
Here come Peter, here comes Dave. Oh, listen. Bringing stories, making waves. No missing. Spinning tales in the podcast cave. So laughs and insights everywhere. What a treat.